our virtual session. Our goal today really is to kind of roll out the project, explain what it is to you, and help you kind of get prepared. For Winston-Salem on the 18th, when you have your summit, you'll have some YPAR work time. And then for Charlotte on the 11th, you'll have some time in your group. So we want to make sure that you're able to make the most of that time as possible. And the best way to do that will be by going ahead and learning more about the project now and getting placed into your groups. So I'm going to go ahead and move us forward. So again, an overview about today, we're going to work through the YPAR project. We're going to talk about the components of the project, what it is, what to expect, and then we'll have some time towards the end to answer any questions you may have. And then you'll also be able to hear from a few of your YLET mentors about their project, the process, and any tips they might have to making sure you have the most successful time. So first thing about what the YPAR project is, and why we do it. One of the main goals of College Launch is leadership development. And one of the ways we think it's important to grow as a leader is through learning more about your community. Leaders exist in community with others, and they work and grow together in community and wanting to make sure things feel good for all. And since College Launch is a leadership development program, we think that you all, as scholars, are resources of knowledge with unique insights and bold ideas. And we want to empower you to make impact in your community. And through this project, you're able to become more effective in addressing critical issues and starting to develop some research skills that will really serve you well later on. The YPAR project also looks amazing when you're applying to college. It helps you build some additional skills and knowledge and just kind of begin to explore your interests, which can be helpful once you get on campus.
So you may wonder, what is YPAR? YPAR is an innovative approach to social justice principles in which young people like yourself are trained to conduct systemic research to improve their lives, their communities, and the institutions intended to serve them. And the steps that will be included in your YPAR project will get started to get together and we'll work at one of our Saturday summits for the month of October, getting started and walking you through who your group is, who you'll be working with, your topic that you've selected. You'll define an issue, you'll investigate that issue, and you'll be able to take action. You are not required to solve the issue, but you are asked to create a plan to take action to help create a solution for the issue. Scholars are asked to work in groups based on their community-based projects. So you'll work in groups between working groups between 4 to 6 people. And as I mentioned, the different steps of the YPAR project will first include identifying that problem. So you'll select a problem or an issue that is impacting you or your community that you're passionate about helping to solve. You'll research that problem, you'll identify the affected communities and or people that the problem is impacting. You'll then select a nonprofit organization in the Charlotte area or in the Winston area, whichever you're closest to, and you'll partner with that nonprofit organization. Partnering with a nonprofit is optional, so that part is not required. You'll identify possible solutions. So you'll think through and brainstorm after you may have done some research, like conducting a survey to identify a few solutions for the problem. You'll then implement those possible solutions and present those solutions as a cohort. And you'll present your findings, your research, your problem, and your experience together. And that will be in May at the College Launch Graduation Summit.
So a little bit more about this community partner piece. Throughout the year, during the project, you'll research and do a community research question where you decide what you want to learn more about. And then in your groups, you'll decide if you wanted to work with a community partner. So community partners can be a local group, an organization, individual, just anyone that's really knowledgeable about your topic and has experience working to solve the problem. And then with your community partner, you can learn more about your issue. You can volunteer with them. You can work with them to brainstorm action steps that your group can take, or you can even go and shadow them or do interviews. Working with a community partner is a really great way to elevate your YPAR project. It is an optional step of the project. In the previous 2 years, we have really encouraged and had the requirement for groups to work with a community partner, but we wanted to make sure there's a little bit more space and flexibility for that. But with this part of the project, having a community partner really elevates the experience for your group. It looks wonderful at the gallery walk, and it's a really great way to learn more and get some really in-depth hands-on experience within your issue. So last year we had a group that worked with Trees Charlotte. So they were able to learn more about deforestation in the Charlotte area. They're able to volunteer and really hear from experts. It helps enrich your research process so you're able to really see what it looks like in real time to solve this issue, what groups are doing to either help people that might be impacted by this issue or help like create policy or do any type of legislation or lobbying for it. So working with community partners is just a really way to present the strongest project you can in May at the project fair. And it looks like we have a question about being able to work in groups and how groups are paired. You can choose your partners or you can be placed based on topic. So if you have someone you want to work with, you do not need to let us know just yet. There will be an interest survey that you can complete later on today, and that will be how we pair you. So another piece that Hyla touched on was completing an action step. While all groups aren't required to work with a community partner, all groups are required to complete an action step. So this is really where you and your group are encouraged to figure out your research question, do some initial research to gather data on what the issue is, who it impacts, what are some things that can help, and then think of small ways to take action. So you're really encouraged to think outside of the box and complete an action step that's going to align with your research problem. A really key question to help out with this is to ask yourself what you can do right now to raise awareness or help solve this problem. So some examples of action steps in the past have looked like volunteering with your community partner or at an event that aligns with your selected topic. Maybe you might have a drive that you want to hold at your school. So if you're doing looking for like school supplies, you might have a school supplies drive at your school to make a donation later. Or we've had some students that will maybe design a social media campaign to teach their peers in the community about the issue and ways that they can help. You could always develop a website of resources that people can use, or we've even had some groups that have come up with policy ideas. So thinking about it more from like a legislative aspect and how they can create legislation or policy drafts to improve the issue or make it easier or solve the issue for people that might be impacted by it. But every group is expected to work with it to do an action step to complete the project. It doesn't have to be this large grand thing, but it's about thinking about what you can do within the scope of your time and what you all can complete successfully as a team.
Great, thanks, Mackenzie. So now we'll get into the YPAR Project Fair, and that will happen in May. This is when you actually present your YPAR project as a group. So all group members are expected to present together. Your presentation, it should be a PowerPoint, a trifold, or poster board, similar, some type of visual presentation. So you must have a visual component for your project. We do encourage creativity, so you're able to use video, infographics, photographs, whatever you choose, whatever you feel like is needed to present your project. But you will also need to include a printed or digital QR code, as well as a handout as a resource guide. So you must have a physical handout, either printed or QR code, to provide as a resource guide, in addition to your poster board or PowerPoint presentation or Canva presentation. We do ask that, as I mentioned, for you to be creative and to collaborate. All scholars in the group have to participate in their project presentation to receive credit for that and to be able to successfully complete the college launch program. And then we also ask that you create some questions so you're able to ask anyone who has any questions of your project. So you have some interaction with the guests that are here to see your project presentation. A few key points that your project must include. So you must have an introduction slide, and on the introduction slide, please have the name of each group member, first and last name. The description of the YPAR project can be your second slide. That would include your research question and why it matters to you. We want to make sure that you're researching something that you're passionate about helping improve. So it's important that you have a good narrative as to why this topic matters to you. Please please follow our research process and findings. So we'll take you through step by step as to what you need to do in collecting pre-existing data, being able to create a summary with a community partner, and as well as the data that your team has collected. During the Saturday Summit, we'll walk you through the research process. You'll also need to have a summary of the action taken by the group. And that summary is basically an explanation of the decision, a description of the action taken, the results and reflection based on the action taken. And that'll all be included in your summary. But yet again, you can be creative using video, using photos as a part of your presentation. You must have a project summary handout, and that can either be printed or by a digital copy using a QR code that we can easily access. And that must include the title, the names of the individuals, the research question, one key data point, a short summary of the action step. And then your research guide can either be printed or digital as well. And that must include 5 or more resources with links and short descriptions. 3 or more local organizations working on your chosen issue with links and short descriptions, and if applicable, information about your community partner that you worked with. So you do have the option to find a community partner in your area that you may choose to work with, but connecting with a community partner is optional, but highly encouraged.
So the next piece we have is a project timeline. So this is an idea of deadlines that will come up during the year. So every month is going to have a deliverable for your group to complete. So that way that'll keep you on track with the project. It'll help you stay up to date with what's going on and just making sure you're completing the project by the May deadlines. So this month, October, you'll be completing your interest form. So that is when you will tell us what you're interested in learning about or who you're interested in working with. And you'll complete that by Monday so you can begin your groups by your Saturday summits. Then October and November are really geared towards piecing out what you want to research, what your research question is filling out your group outline, which will be due mid-November. So that way we can go ahead and get an idea of what your project is. So once you submit that outline in November, you'll get approval from our team about your project. We're going to review what you're thinking of doing. We'll take a look at your action steps. We'll ask questions to just make sure that it's something that you can complete in the time allotted. And that'll be your November deliverable. In December, that's when you'll decide if you want to work with a community partner. So we'll have a community partner opt-in or opt-out form. All groups that are interested in working with a community partner do need to complete the form. We want to make sure we're able to get you connected with community partners. We can provide help with that. We'll have a list of partners that we have worked with or that we've worked with at other events or things that you're able to draw on. If there's someone that you already know you want to work with, you would still need to complete that form. And then as well, it's a way for us to get a gauge on what groups that aren't working with a community partner are thinking about further action step. So it's a really good way to check in with us before you leave for winter break and make sure your group is set up for success when you come back in January. Because when winter gets started, you have so much to do. We want to make sure that we can close out the season with a very clear understanding of where to pick up the project in the spring. So that will be your December deliverable. In January, we are going to have every group member do a rating and self-evaluation form. This is a teamwork project, and we want to make sure everyone is working as a team and that you are being as accountable to yourself and one another as you can. And one of the ways that we want to continue to check in with all of you and support all of you through that process is through this group member rating and self-evaluation form. So this is will be a chance to kind of provide feedback on how it's been working with your group, if there's anything we can do to support you, how you feel like it's been for yourself working as a part of this group. I think that we give feedback on others, but we also want to make sure we are giving feedback on ourselves. So this forum will be your space to do that and then receive support from our team in making sure that you're the most successful going through the rest of the year. In February, we're going to need an updated project outline. So you will have submitted one in November, but things definitely can change from November to February. So we want to know where your group is at in that moment as of February. So your group will submit another outline that'll be pretty similar to the November one, but it'll be more finalized with what your group's been doing over the time and where you're at now. Your March action step is going to be a report on your action step. So by March, around the end of the month, you all should have completed an action step or be moving towards and preparing to complete one. And we just want to see how it went. So this form is going to be a way to give us an overview of what your action step was, how it went. If you haven't done one, that's also okay. We want to know that too, so we can make sure we support you. But the expectation is to try to have some type of small action step completed by that March date. So that way we can make sure you're successful and ready for the May presentation. In April, you'll give us a draft of your project. So that will be the presentation Kyla just spoke on, the resource guide, the handouts, all of those. You'll go ahead and give us a draft of those so we can provide feedback for any small edits you'll need to make. We're not going to suggest large sweeping changes on this date. We're not going to suggest you change your whole project, but maybe if we notice some grammar things, because we all sometimes miss those, or if there's something formatting that could be clearer, or if there's a question that we think parents or guests might ask at the day that you all might want to answer on your presentation, we'll look at them and give you feedback on that to provide you some time to make some edits ahead of your graduation. So these will all be edits that you can make in a quick turnaround time, but you will need to be keeping an eye on Google Classroom in your email. So the ideal thing looking at this timeline is if you are meeting this October 6th deadline and working with your group in between October and November, you'll have an outline by November. And then speaking with your group between November and December, you'll have an idea if you're going to work with a community partner by December. And then from December to January, there might not be too much to do because we want to make sure you enjoy your break. But when you come back in January, we want to know how the process has been overall for you to make sure that if there's anything we need to turn around, we have time to do so. And then from January to February, that will make sure you all are getting on the same page for preparing to do another outline, that the project is all squared away, and that you're really working now on the action steps. So if you think about it, research should really be happening in this fall time right now. So once you're in your groups, you want to make sure you're doing as much initial research as you can. So that way you're prepared to do a lot more of the action steps and presentation building in the spring.
So now we're going to discuss the roles and responsibilities of each YPAR group. Each YPAR group will have at least 5 members, and each member will be able to select which role that they want to be responsible for. So I'm just going to go over each of the roles and give you some more information so you can better understand your responsibility, and that way you can select which role you prefer. So each group will have a lead researcher, and that researcher leads discussions on what the group's research question is, what that's going to be. They find and share relevant articles, as well as websites and pre-existing data for the whole group to review. And they'll keep the group focused on the chosen research question. They'll continue to be thoughtful about the project throughout the process. And their main objective is to be the one individual that asks why. Next, the data collector and synthesizer. That role or that individual keeps track of relevant pre-existing data, and they'll collect and organize any new data generated by the group's action steps. with their community partner. They'll work closely with the presentation manager to add data to that final presentation. We also have the operations manager, and the operations manager will schedule any group meetings outside of the Saturday summits. So this will take some time outside of just meeting monthly on Saturday to complete the YPAR project. But the operations manager, they will work with everyone's schedule to make sure everyone's able to meet. You're not required to meet in person. You can definitely meet over Zoom, or you're also able to meet over FaceTime. You could meet however works best for your group. And some groups are able to just use chat to be able to meet and talk through their project. So it's up to the operations manager to schedule those meetings, make sure all group members are on task throughout the process. The operations manager will check in with each team member individually, and they'll also reach out to your YLab mentor or our pre-college staff member like myself and Mackenzie with any questions or concerns on behalf of that group. The action step organizer is another responsibility and role within the team, and that individual leads group discussions and the research process on possible action steps that their group may take. They'll function as the main connector for putting together the action steps and figuring out how to present and report on the action step at the May project fair. So the action step organizer, it's really putting all the research together, leading group discussions to make sure everyone's prepared for the May project presentation fair. And then lastly, the presentation manager, you'll keep track of the presentation questions and the group's answers to those questions as the project progresses. You'll design and create the final presentation with help from the group, of course, so it's not just your responsibility to create the presentation. This is a team effort collectively, but the presentation manager will make sure that every group member has a section to speak during the final presentation. So that's a little bit about the roles and the responsibilities of the YPAR project. Next, we'll talk a little bit about some of our past YPAR projects. So on the screen, you can see there is a wide range of topics, areas of interest that students have selected. So you're really able to just use this as a guide, but please do not feel as if you need to select one of these topics on the screen. Think about something that you're passionate about helping improve, an issue that may be impacting you or someone you know. And that's how we want you to select a topic, something that's passionate for you. So everything from fast fashion to the wealth gap to food insecurity to poverty, mental health, disability injustices. So these are broad topics that you will choose. And then from your broad topic, you'll begin to narrow it down to a question that you want to ask. So you really have freedom in choosing whichever topic that you are passionate about collectively with your group, and we'll send out a survey for you to be able to select your topic.
So, in addition to your group as a source of support and us professional staff as a source of support, you'll also receive a YLab mentor that is going to support your group. So, every group will be assigned a YLab mentor, and they are truly encouraged to reach out to their mentor at any time to ask questions or receive help. YLab, which you met the last 2 Saturdays, are students that just went through this program just like you. Literally, this May, they submitted and presented their projects, and they know exactly what it's like to have to go through this process. So truly use them as a resource. What you can expect from your YLab mentor is for them to check in with your group by the 25th of every month to see if you need any help with communicating with your group members, resolving issues with your group members, taking your action step, synthesizing your data and putting your presentation together, just kind of encouraging you to continue to reach out and communicate to one another. They are really meant to be a resource that can help you feel supported through the process and that can kind of normalize how it is doing a project like this with some new friends, if you're working based on your interests or people that you already know. For some students, this might be the first time completing a project of this magnitude. So really lean on YLab because they know how important it is to work as a team and might have some really helpful tips to help you get over some of those first time hurdles or that first time awkwardness doing a project like this when you're all still really getting to know one another. And now we have a few YLab that are here that want to share more about their project. I'm going to give Akil and Aaron both a chance to come off mute. And the two questions I want you both to answer are what was the project that your group did? And what is one piece of feedback that you would give this year's group of scholars about completing the project successfully? So if Akil, you want to go first.
Yeah, for sure. Hey guys, my name's Akil, senior from Fort Mill High School, and my first or my project was medicine. So we focused on mainly a lot of the stuff that homeless people didn't have in the Charlotte area, like hygiene items. So yeah, it was I'd say I liked my group. We worked very well together about coordinating our time, our efforts. But yeah, we mainly tried to partner with like local nonprofits to start drives at our schools to kind of like get stuff like shampoo, body wash, and other just like hygiene items that homeless people in the Charlotte area may not have had. Um, but yeah, I think like maybe some of the difficulties we faced were, I guess, like just the amount of people we had to reach out to, and also coordinating through our schools. 'Cause, not all schools would be open because they'd be running other drives and other fundraisers, stuff like that. So yeah.
Thanks, Akil. Aaron, do you want to share more about your project and any tips or feedback you would give as well?
Yeah, guys. Sure. My name is Aaron. I'm a senior at Cudbeson High School, and my group and I did a project on mental health, especially for people that are homeless and people that might not have the resources to combat mental health with like various programs and such. So what we did was we partnered with an association called Mental Health America, and with that association, we, just got information out about free programs they had and maybe like information sessions they had. We made posters regarding such information. We hung them up around Charlotte, around Monroe to get like the word out about it. And I think the main issue that we had for our project was for us personally, I felt like our team, our person who was coordinating the association with the association did a great job. She did it really nicely and efficiently, so that wasn't really a problem. But the main problem was to make sure that we had all like enough time on our schedules to, like work on the project, collaborate, and not procrastinate and leave it off till May. So yeah, that was the main issue. But we got it through, we worked it out, and we made sure that, all of us had time. We did it efficiently and stuff. So yeah, that was the main part.
Yeah, thanks, Akil and Aaron. It's sounding like flexibility is one of the biggest things, making sure you are flexible during the project process, that you are communicating with one another, and just being cognizant that sometimes schedules are different and sometimes it is a little bit like Tetris, so figuring out ways that you all can work efficiently and collaboratively.
So now we'll transition to Google Classroom, and this is the main resource hub that you use for College Launch, for communication, for assignments, for your quote unquote classwork, for your Saturday summits, but it'll also be where you'll submit your interest survey, and we'll give you that link this evening. We'll also use Google Classroom to submit your group outline, your community partner opt-in or opt-out form, your group member ratings, as well as your self-evaluation. So we want to make sure that you are rating each other as well as evaluating yourself and your part in the project, as well as updated project outline. That's where you'll add the updated project outline that the team collectively builds, that the team collectively works on, as well as your action step report and the review of that action step report. Your project draft and presentation plan will also be submitted in Google Classroom, as well as your YPAR final project, all project materials, as well as your project research guide. And We don't want to overwhelm you. We will walk you through exactly what you need to do step by step. Don't ever hesitate to email collegelaunch@wfu.edu if you have questions or if you're not quite sure if what you've done is correct. So we're happy to help guide you. This is definitely a learning process, but Google Classroom will be that main area to submit items. And next, we'll talk a little bit about inside Google Classroom. This will be your hub for finding all of the materials that you need to be successful. So there's a detailed YPAR project guide in Google Classroom, as well as a project timeline with due dates, similar to the timeline Mackenzie reviewed a few slides before. Your presentation resources are there, as well as sample YPAR projects. So we have some examples of what students have done in the past. Please don't copy those samples, but it'll give you a great starting point as well as a guide to get a better understanding of the project from beginning to end. There are also action step guidelines in Google Classroom, so follow those guidelines. It will definitely help you create a successful project. And then there's a community partner guide. So if you do want to partner with a nonprofit organization in Charlotte, we have a guide for you to follow. And then you'll also find a recording of this info session this evening if you want to play it back or if you were not able to participate this evening. So we have all the resources in Google Classroom. That'll be your one-stop shop for finding your resources as well as submitting your project materials.
We just want to give a little bit more conversation on group etiquette. So while you all will be playing a role and have a job to fill within your group, you are still very much a team, and teams are expected to collaborate and communicate to get things done successfully. So groups can be assigned based on interest and group member preference. I think it's important to remember both. If you're going based off of preference and what you want to work with topic-wise, being flexible and being open to what others might be sharing. Sometimes it's not always a one-to-one match, so you all might need to find some middle ground. And then if you're working with people you know, just remembering to be kind to one another and hold each other accountable with some kindness. Everyone is expected to actively participate. We do know how busy junior year is, and we want to make sure that you're able to enjoy all of the other things, but making sure you're working with each other flexibly. So if you know that you've got a time commitment or something coming up, communicating that to your group well ahead of time so that way they know what to expect and that they don't think that you are ghosting them in the project process, making sure that you're letting people know if you need help with things. Sometimes we do need to support one another more often when things get busy, but just being really clear with one another is going to be the best way to have a cohesive group and get this project done. So, of course, thinking as well about choosing a role, but being a team player and then being a reliable teammate. If you all have all agreed on a meeting time, plan to show up for that meeting time. Of course, if something happens, let them know and they will work with you to reschedule it. But planning to be as accountable to the things you say you can make or can do as you can to make sure everyone's able to complete this project with confidence and comfort. Just more about communication and meeting. We'll share out contact information with your group assignments. So once you're placed in your groups, you will be given a rubric where you can see like who you're grouped with, what your topic is, and how to get in touch with everyone. So making sure that you take notice of that so that way you have the proper information of how to reach out to everyone so no one's missing messages, whether it's email or a group chat or both. I think sometimes it's great to communicate over more than one style of messaging. So keeping that in mind. And then remembering that you will need to meet outside of some summits. So determining how's best to meet. So whether it's Zoom, in person, FaceTime, Google Hangout. Again, Kyla mentioned that you can sometimes complete task over chat. Everything doesn't need to be an hour-long meeting, just thinking about how you can also work efficiently and making sure everyone is still doing their part. We will have some work time built into our summits this year, but you won't be able to get everything done during that time. So you will want to make sure that you all are finding small pockets of space that work for you, that you are keeping an eye on the timeline and the schedule so you have an idea when dates are coming up, just in case you need to work a little bit more closer to a due date, and just being aware of what's upcoming for your group to complete the project. Again, being responsive to your teammates, your YLET mentor, they are here to help. So if they are reaching out to your group to see how you're doing, just send them a quick note back. Let them know what's going on. Let them know if it's going well or if you need help with things. They might have ideas or a perspective that you had not considered. And then always being responsive to us or also our program assistant, Bada and Martin. They are going to be another resource to help you out during the year. We're going to check in at different points during the year to see how your group is doing. If you all have questions about things or if you need help with anything, we are always super happy to meet. Once we get the year up and running a little bit more, we'll have office hours if your group ever wants to come in and ask us questions. So there will be tons of opportunities to get FaceTime with a YLib mentor or a member of our staff to learn more about the project and ask questions. We want to make sure that things feel as clear and as manageable as possible. And then, of course, in the case that you have a group member that is not participating, please reach out privately to one of us. Sometimes it happens. It can be really difficult to be in a group at times and making sure that you're getting everything done. Again, junior year is busy, and we want to make sure that we know if you are having trouble ahead of time. If you let us know early on, we can work with you to resolve the issue, but we cannot help solve something that we do not know is happening. So just another very strong reminder that if you have any concerns within your group, if you're having trouble with a group member, if you are that group member who's having trouble participating, because sometimes we are that person as well, feel free to come and talk to us. There is no judgment here. We just want to help and make sure that the project is going well and feeling good for all of you. We want everyone to come away from this process feeling confident and have learned something about how to do research, an issue in their community, working with a community partner, or just generally working in a group. So our door is always open for any concerns, regardless of what side of the issue you are on. So the next piece is the interest form. We are nearing the end of our time for today, so we'll have some time for Q&A, but we want to go ahead and make the interest form available for students. Kyla has just dropped it in the chat, so make sure to click that. It is going to be the way for you to let us know who you'd like to work with. So if there is a specific person that you met at the summit last Saturday that you're like, I really liked working with you, I can't wait to work together, put their name down. If there's a topic that you saw that you feel really passionate about and you're feeling super excited about doing a project on housing insecurity or food or education, choose that topic. You are able to rank some topics. We will do our very, very best to place everyone with their number one choice. But if we are not able to, we will place you with your number two or someone that you'd like to work with. So we really look intentionally at these group pairings. If you have any questions or concerns after looking at groups, you're always encouraged to speak with us privately, but we are going to use as much intentionality as thought in putting these groups together. So I would encourage you all to do the same when completing your interest survey. I'll give a few more seconds for people if anyone wants to scan the QR code or if anyone wants to click the link. All of these materials will be available in Google Classroom as well for you to complete. And then, of course, Monday, October 6th is the deadline that we're asking everyone to meet. So that way, when we meet to put your groups together that week, we have a form for everyone. Again, group members or scholars that do not complete the form will be placed in a group because we do need to have everyone in a group by the summit. So if you want to make sure you are in a group with someone you want to work with or a group of a topic that you're interested in, completing the interest survey is the best way to make sure you have a shot at that. Group students that do not complete the form will be randomly placed at times. So wanting to make sure that you have a chance to complete that form.
So looking ahead, now we'll talk about our next Saturday summit for the Charlotte cohort. That will be Saturday, October 11th from 9 to 2 p.m. at the Wake Forest Charlotte Center. And for our Winston-Salem cohort, that will be Saturday, October 18th from 9 a.m. to 1:30. And the time adjustment is simply because we're going to the Second Harvest Food Bank of Western North Carolina. We do ask that you RSVP for the October Saturday Summit, and for every Saturday Summit, make sure that you just get in the habit of RSVPing in Google Classroom. So that's your one hub for all communication. You'll go into Google Classroom and RSVP for either the Charlotte Saturday Summit or the Winston Saturday Summit, depending on your location. You'll also submit Journal 1 in the classwork tab of Google Classroom. And please make sure that you upload that and submit that as a Google Doc. That way we're able to provide comments, help you with edits, and provide suggestions. So just as a reminder, Journal 1 will also need to be submitted as a Google Doc. And then if you haven't already, fill out any waivers posted in the October section of the classwork tab for Google Classroom, just to make sure that we have all of your materials as well. So that's just a reminder about the upcoming October Saturday Summits for Charlotte and Winston. I'll pass it back to you, Mackenzie.
Well, everyone, we are at the close of our session, so we are here for questions, but we also do have an exit ticket because we want feedback, as always, on how the session went, so you can scan the QR code. And I've also dropped the link in the chat. So we will stick around here for a little bit to answer any questions you have about the YPAR project. If you have any specific concerns that might be really specific to your situation as a scholar or a student, you're going to want to email us at college launch so we can field those tomorrow morning. But if it's a general question about the project, the process, anything else you need or want more clarity on, we will be here to answer them for a little bit. Otherwise, once everyone has completed the exit ticket and gotten their interest survey up and running, you are all good to go and enjoy the rest of your evenings. Thank you so much for joining us for this time. And then I will just leave us with the RSVP page for the summits in case you haven't had a chance to do so. But let us know if you have any questions. Feel free to drop them in the chat if it's easier to unmute and share. We will be here for anything like that. But if not, and have a good night and have a good day tomorrow at school for those that have it. I know that some might have a teacher work day.
And thank you all for attending. And we really appreciate you learning more about YPAR and attending our presentation.